Welcome to Casually Collected, and this is a Game Boy Advance. Today I'll be going through the process of upgrading 3 Game Boys with newer shells, LCD screens, trigger buttons, speakers, and cleaning the power switch. I've got each video synced to start at the same time, and at the end I'll calculate the total amount of time it took. Comment below which one you think will be faster. The first part is disassembly. These are some of the shells I picked up from AliExpress. They come with all the buttons and screws needed. I got the screens and the ribbon cables from a company called FunnyPlaying. The screens themselves are cheap, but the ribbon cables cost like $40. After we take the 7 screws out of the back, there's 3 more screws on the motherboard to remove. Finally, we just released the ribbon cable and the motherboard is free. Next, let's work on the speaker. Another item I purchased on AliExpress, and the process is simple. Get a soldering iron and heat up the solder connecting the old speaker to the wires. Then repeat that process to attach the new speaker. Here comes my worst nightmare, the trigger buttons. So I had the bright idea to replace these in order to get a more clicky feel. Little did I know that these things were a pain to get off. Each trigger has 2 metal prongs connecting it to the motherboard, and no matter how hot I got it, those prongs would not budge. I tried using some solder wick, which is a copper braided material that's used to remove excess solder, but that didn't work. I tried a solder sucker, which has a funny name. It's that blue and silver tool, which as the name suggests, sucks out a small bit of solder, but that had little to no success. Finally, I was able to get the triggers out through force and snipping the prongs down some. The power switch was pretty easy. Using the soldering iron to lift one side of the metal cover and remove the switch, clean everything with 99% alcohol because over time the power switch can get kinda rusty, causing the contacts to not, make contact. The only part to watch out for is the switch, which is very flimsy and has a small piece of metal in it that can easily fall out and will not go back in. Trust me, I know from experience because on the Gengar Game Boy, I had to buy a new switch and solder that in. Wouldn't recommend it. The most important step in this process is the screen. First, we peel off the double-sided sticky tape on the glass that goes on the outside. These usually come with the LCD when you buy a kit. I plug the screen into the motherboard using the new ribbon cable, and with some fresh batteries, I use my tweezers to bridge the connection to see if it turns on. It has no problem. The ribbon cable has 3 solder points on it labeled L, R, and select. There's also 3 blue wires included for you to solder these points to the matching points on the motherboard. This is entirely optional, but allows you to change the brightness on each Game Boy. Definitely a plus I wouldn't skip out on. Let's look at the Kirby Game Boy on the bottom and tell me if you see the mistake. If you did see it, then you know how frustrated I was. I somehow glued the LCD in place without removing the protective film from the glass. I could either try to pull out the LCD, which I pressed firmly in place, or I could try and lift the glass. I'd rather break the least expensive option, and I had a second glass on hand, so the choice was easy but still sad. Rookie mistake. After taking the glass off piece by piece, the protective film seemed to keep the LCD safe, so it was a matter of taking off the film and placing the new glass after wiping everything to make sure it was clean, since this will be permanent. I periodically did some testing as I was reassembling, and I tried to tuck the wires in safely. You can see the Gengar Game Boy has the new power switch I was telling you about, which is a mini motherboard you solder on. I was making sure each point was touching the connection beneath it using my multimeter and adding solder where needed. You can say I stress tested these power switches a lot. The Gengar Game Boy was awesome, but I sold it on eBay after thoroughly testing it and made a good profit. I also picked up these 3 games from eBay at what I believe were pretty good deals. Everything looks like it was in perfect shape, but oh no, the Kirby Game Boy needed the trigger buttons fixed. They were working on and off, and turns out it was a piece of plastic I needed to trim off the trigger buttons so that when I pressed them, they would make contact with the actual trigger switch. I did the same process for the other Game Boys, but Kirby was the testing ground. Overall, here's how the time went. On Disassembly, Gengar took 2 minutes and 41 seconds, Squirtle took 2 minutes and 59 seconds, and Kirby took 2 minutes and 6 seconds. For replacing the speaker, Squirtle took 1 minute and 15 seconds, Kirby took 58 seconds, and for Gengar, I didn't record it, so I just gave him an average time of 1 minute and 7 seconds. For replacing the trigger buttons, Squirtle took 21 minutes and 40 seconds, Kirby took 17 minutes and 53 seconds, and Gengar, again I didn't record it, so give it an average of 19 minutes and 47 seconds. Cleaning the power switch wasn't long, but for Gengar it took 7 minutes and 27 seconds. For Squirtle Squirtle, it took 10 minutes and 29 seconds, and for Kirby, it took 4 minutes and 25 seconds. So far, Squirtle took the longest in each set, but will it be able to make a comeback? We replaced the LCD and we reassembled. Gengar took 48 minutes and 41 seconds, which brings it to an hour and 19 minutes with 44 seconds. Squirtle took 23 minutes and 18 seconds, which is almost half that time, which brings it up to 59 minutes and 41 seconds. And let's see if Kirby can beat everybody. Kirby took a time of 22 minutes and 23 seconds, plus 9 minutes and 59 seconds for fixes. So that brings it up to 57 minutes and 44 seconds. So Kirby is the fastest one that I did.
Thanks for watching. Definitely appreciate if you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.